Welcome back to the Resilient Man podcast. In this episode, Adam shares his raw journey from the depths of depression, loss, and near suicide to 5 years sober, building a thriving business, and finding true alignment in life. Adam opens up about hitting rock bottom at 30, the turning point that saved his life, and the practical steps he took to rebuild his health, mindset, and purpose brick by brick. We dive into self-esteem, micro goals, boundaries, values, and the importance of asking, what's a more helpful thought? This conversation is a reminder that no matter how far you've fallen, change is possible, and rock bottom can be the new foundation for the life you truly want. Enjoy. Adam, welcome to the Resilient Man podcast.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Thank you very much for reaching out and being a guest, because I'm always looking for guests. So thank you very much for that. The Resilient Man podcast is all about those moments of overcoming adversity or those moments of struggles and opening up, talking about them in order to inspire other men and help men realize that they can get through it because you've got through it. So what I'd love to know is, what are those 2 or 3 key moments of adversity or struggles that you faced?
Only 2 or 3. That's difficult. There's been a long line of them, not in a woe is me sense, just I've made a lot of bad decisions. So in my 20s and in my early 30s, I think the rock bottom moment for me was around 7 years ago when I just turned 30 or turning 30. I was working in a large organisation, managing a team of around 60, 70 staff, something like that, in a high-level bar and restaurant. And it just got too much for me. The pressure was just enormous, especially around Christmas time in that industry. It's brutal. You're doing sort of 12, 14, 16-hour days sometimes with hardly any breaks and all that kind of thing. And that impacted my relationship in a really negative way. It impacted my health in a really negative way. I was just eating anything that I could, drinking too much alcohol. Some days just trying to do as much gear as you could to just get by, to try and wake you up. All the things that are wrong for you that you think are right for you when you're deluded and you're in pain. But that all came to a head and I got signed off from work with depression. I went into the doctor and he said, are you sleeping well? I said, no. You eating not so great at the moment. I was like, yeah, just eating junk food really. Do you have much hope at the moment? Not really. Are you often sad? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, you've got depression. I was like, oh no. And at the time, I just felt like this dead weight that had just been handed over to me. And he said, oh, we'll put you on some sertraline and we'll help you get off that antidepressants. And I said, no, I don't want to rely on pills to impact my mood. So thanks, but no thanks. And declined that. And I thought, I need to get out of this on my own, really. But in the space of about 3 weeks, I lost 3 family members. And then my partner walked out on me after 4 years of being together. And fast forward a few weeks after that, I got pushed out of my job. So 3 family members down, single, unemployed, staring at the barrel of moving back into living with my parents at the age of 30 was not what I had planned for my blueprint of what success would look like. I had the vision of the car, the dog, the kids, the white picket fence, and none of that was my reality. And I'm looking at friends that are getting promoted, having families, moving abroad. And I thought, you fucking loser. That's how I used to see myself. I started working on myself, went to therapy, made some positive changes. I knew what to do in a sense, because I used to be a personal trainer many years ago, and I've studied self-development for decades since I was literally 18 years old. I'm nearly 38 now. So I thought, right, well, let's just get back to it. Let's stop drinking for a bit and sort your life out. So I got a new job. That was going quite well. And then I got a phone call one day. It was from my best friend. He just said, my dad's just died in his sleep. He's had a heart attack. And I was very close to this man. And I had that instantaneous grief, that kind of grief that just whacks you in the face. And I remember just being absolutely devastated. And I was at his wake. And my mum and dad's house was about 5 minutes away from where the wake was, from a local town. I thought, this is it. I can't be doing this anymore. I'm in so much pain. And I just want to end it all now. because I looked around at the wake and I thought, all this sadness, all this devastation, what is the point? I hadn't fully recovered from the traumatic experiences that happened earlier on in the year. And even though I'd started therapy and started the self-development, I still felt very miserable and void of hope. There's a lot of people that when they have suicide ideation, they feel hopeless or worthless and that the world would be better if they just weren't here. And although those thoughts may be irrational, that's exactly how I felt. Well, I'm a burden to people. I'm causing more pain being here. So I must have drank about 8 pints at the wake because I was drinking so much alcohol at the time. 8 pints was almost nothing. And I don't say that to brag. I'm pretty horrified by that fact now. But I went down to mum and dad's house and said goodbye for what I thought was the last time. And I got in the car and I thought, I'm going to drive into a bridge or a lamppost or a wall, just anything. Anything will do. And as I'm approaching a bridge at about 100 miles an hour, I'm about, I don't know, half a mile away. And I got a phone call. It just said mum on the dashboard. And I was like, oh shit. I just answered it. I was like, hello. She's like, oh, hi, Ad, you've left your wallet at home. Do you want me to drop it off for you? And I can't really explain it, mate, but as soon as I heard a voice, something just clicked. And I slammed my foot on the brake and the car span out of control. And I just sat there and just sobbed for hours. And I thought, this is it. This is rock bottom. And I started shaming myself, not only in the moment, but days, weeks, and months after. How could you even think of doing that? The devastation and the pain you would have caused to your family, you're a piece of shit, etc. So I was further adding further pain to myself by blaming and shaming and guilting myself. So I knew equally that it's a bit of a corny phrase. Rock bottom is a great foundation on which to build. It can't get worse than this. I don't know how it can possibly get any worse. And I knew that I had to rebuild the proverbial house brick by brick, and it was going to take a lot of fucking work, and it has done. But I'm happy to say that there's 5 years of sobriety have followed that now, and no suicide ideation anymore. I've gone on to set up my own successful business. I'm in a very healthy relationship now. I'm in the best shape of my life at 37. So change is possible for anyone listening. If you're going through your own go through, it won't be the same, but it doesn't have to be. It's your pain, but it can get better. But I've not got here on my own. I've had a lot of help and I've had a lot of support and I've put in a lot of hard work. But that wasn't the end for me. If anything, it was the beginning of a great story. And here we are telling it.
I really like that perception. That isn't the start. That's not the end. This is the start. For you, looking back, what advice would you give yourself if you could go back into that moment as you sat in the car, having just slammed the brakes on? What advice would you give yourself?
Go easy on yourself, mate. It's what my coach refers to as don't bring out the rusty old axe to hit yourself in the face with. You know, we do that every day. When I use the expression self-harm, people just go to cutting themselves. That's the instantaneous response, and understandably so, because it's been associated with it for so long. But I look at, let's say you want to stop drinking alcohol, and you've said that to your family, I'm going to stop drinking. And you go out and you get absolutely shit-faced. That's self-harm. It's causing harm to oneself. If you're on a weight loss journey because you're sick of being overweight and you're sick of not being able to fit into your favourite shirt, and you have the pizza and the cake and you gorge on things, that's self-harm. It sounds really extreme, but it is. You just don't see the scars. People label things like self-sabotage. I get so close to being happy, then I just self-sabotage, Adam. No, you self-harm. And the more severe we can make the language, the more likely it is that we're going to change going forward. So I needed to have what my coach referred to as fierce empathy. I was really empathetic towards myself, but something had to change. Because after a while, empathy becomes enablement. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. You're good just as you are. Don't worry about change. I needed to fucking change. I was broken as a man. I was a broken man. And I needed to rebuild. So just being overly empathetic to myself with no action wouldn't have been helpful either. But in that instant moment, it needed to be the arm around the shoulder, and this is going to be more than okay. Just go easy on yourself.
I really like that. I think it's a really nice reminder for people. So you have that event with the car and you decide, right, this is it, I need to change. What were your next steps? What did that look like?
It's going to sound really boring. Do the basics. And it might, again, that might be a bit broad because basics means different things to different people. For me, it was going back to the basics of self-care. I don't associate healthy eating, drinking water and exercise as weight loss or anything like that anymore. I just look at it as necessary, the same way that I do to brush my teeth and get dressed in the morning. It's basic. Getting shower is basic hygiene. Exercise is basic hygiene. We've become so sedentary as people that sitting down for 5 or 6 hours and watching Netflix is just the norm. Going out for a 20-minute walk is considered exercise now, which is wild. Just existing as a human being. What do you mean you've not been outside today? What do you mean you haven't been for a walk today? So I just followed the basics. I was like, right, if I could start eating a bit better and get back in the gym and I can start drinking some water, surely things are going to start to turn for me. And they did. Things got a little bit better. I had a little bit more energy. I was sleeping a little bit better. Then I started going back to my self-help videos that I used to consume with Tony Robbins and Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, some of the absolute legends of our industry. If I can start consuming some positive content, maybe that'll help. And it did. But again, trying to go through it all on your own isn't going to get you really anywhere. No one's achieved anything of greatness completely on their own. Yes, Usain Bolt crosses the finish line in 9 seconds, but he had a nutritionist, he had a strength and conditioning coach, he had a sprint coach, he had a recovery coach, he had a sleep coach, right? They all played their part in that incredible story. So I thought, if it's good enough for Usain Bolt, it's probably good enough for me. So I don't need 5 coaches in every area of my life, but I definitely need someone that I can talk to that's away from my inner circle because my family and my friends love me too much. I need someone impartial. I need someone that can hold up the mirror, that can challenge me in a healthy way. So I hired a coach and I set some goals and he held me accountable to said goals and I started to achieve them, which started to build self-esteem. Because the thing is, mate, the self-esteem can be built so easily. And the reason why it's such a slippery slope is because it can be destroyed just as easily. If you say to yourself, after listening to this podcast, for instance, right, tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym. And then you get your gym gear out and then your alarm goes off in the morning and you're all prepared. You've got your water bottle ready to go, gym gear's out. You've even done a healthy breakfast maybe. And then the alarm goes off and you look outside and it's looking a bit wet and a bit wild out there. It's the UK and who knows what it's going to be. And you go, no, I'll sleep in. You've just destroyed your self-esteem because you've made yourself a promise that you've not fulfilled. If you get the gym gear ready and you get your water ready and you prep your breakfast and you get up and you go and you do half an hour, you've just built self-esteem. And it's annoyingly simple to do it either way. So I just started doing that, mate. And then the audiobooks came into it, then journaling and practicing gratitude and spending time with great people. They all play the part if you look at it as a recipe. And the end goal is a wonderful chocolate cake, i.e. happiness. I was adding some great ingredients to that cake. Before it was junk food, alcohol, scrolling, drugs, one-night stands, misery, despair, chasing validation. The end result? Horrible, of course. So I would invite anyone listening to this now to really revisit that set of proverbial ingredients to the life that you're trying to create and just keep following that process and refining it along the way.
Would you say from day-to-day life, from where you are now, do you follow through on those, continue building those self-esteem decisions and actions every day?
No, not every day. I would say I'm pretty consistent. I'd say 90 to 95% of the time, but we all let ourselves down. No one's perfect, but I think that the difference in the quality of my life now is that 90 to 95% of the time it is being hit and everything else is a lesson. It's a constant state of refinement and people want to chase happiness all the time, but I think that's the wrong goal because happiness is an emotion. It comes and it goes. It's fleeting, the same way that anxiety is, the same way that depression is, the same way that joy, excitement, overwhelm, they're all feelings. So I understand the premise of wanting to be happy, but that was a mistake that I made, chasing happiness as opposed to focusing on progress, because progress equals happiness. So the more I can progress every day, if that's one more rep in the gym, or it's 5 seconds shaved off rowing time, or park run, whatever, you feel like you've made progress and you feel good. And you're like, oh, great, you get your dopamine hit. Or if the relationship's moving in the right way, or let's say your kids go to sports day and they win the race, you feel good because it's secondhand wins, secondhand progress. But the more you can keep progressing, but not X your life and all the bullshit that the gurus will ram down your throat, just look at what it is that you're currently trying to achieve, and can you improve it a little bit from what you did yesterday? Because over 90 days, you'll be unrecognizable from where you're at now. As long as you set micro goals, achieve them, build momentum, not trying to do everything all at once, overwhelming yourself, not doing it and then going, I'm such an idiot. And you're back to square one again.
So to summarize, like, your advice would be identifying those micro goals that you've said and actually just then following through on them and building that self-esteem gradually.
That's exactly it, mate. Because what's so interesting to me, and I've seen this with hundreds of people that I've coached, they create almost like a mini contract in their mind, and they disassociate from their current reality to a future reality, because the future reality can be whatever it is that you want it to be. And that's why you'll hear people commonly use phrases on a Friday or Saturday night after having, I don't know, let's say they go out for a dinner with their partner and they have a nice starter and a nice main, then they might have the dessert as well. And they go, oh, why did I have the dessert? And they get home, and then the next morning, assuming they're on a fat loss journey, for example, and the next morning they go, well, I had the dessert last night, it's Saturday today, we're going out for dinner again, I'll just have a fry up. And then they have junk food at lunchtime. And then now they feel like shit and they don't go to the gym. Then they go out and have more food on the evening and with alcohol. Then Sunday comes around, oh, fuck it, diet starts Monday, ha ha ha, and we all laugh it off. But the reason why so many people do that is because it means I don't have to take action now. So I'm going to create enough dopamine in my brain to trick myself that I'm going to make a change, not take action on the Monday, probably, but get really excited about the thought of taking action now, because that's better than not doing anything. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I see people make. And then they go, you know, a lot of people say to me as well, I'm not going to sign up at the moment, Adam, because life's really busy and I'm just all or nothing, you see. And I say, no problem, but I don't believe you. I don't believe that anyone really is all or nothing, apart from top elite athletes. Kobe Bryant, when he was alive, was all in. LeBron James is someone I'd consider as all in. Cristiano Ronaldo, at the age of 40, still playing at the level he is, he's all in. But I said, you're a father of 2 young kids. You work 10, 12-hour days. Do you need to be all or nothing? Is that the alternative? Nothing. Maybe just do something. What can we do? You don't have to do ice baths and kale smoothies and nose strips and high rocks workouts and affirmations to mean you're good enough as a man. Maybe you could just start out with basic exercise, drinking some more water and eating a bit healthier today. Maybe give yourself a week or 2 weeks off alcohol, right? And just build that and just see how you get on. Without this shame stick that you're already building, that you don't even know you're building, but you are, because we've all been there, of no, I need to change everything all at once. So I think it's nonsense as a phrase, all or nothing. And I think it's something that people use as an excuse not to take action because they don't feel worthy of the outcome, which is the most upsetting thing of all.
So set the micro goals and set a goal that you can start today rather than on Monday.
Yeah, just something really small. And I mean, this is the level I mean. If you want to become a runner, don't sign up for the fucking marathon. Don't sign up for 10K or even 5K. What I want you to do is I want you to open your laptop, go onto Amazon, type in running trainers. Then I want you to download the Couch to 5K app. And when it arrives, follow it. And make sure you stretch beforehand, make sure you stretch afterwards, and just see how far you can get. You might be able to run 3 minutes without stopping. It might be less. Who cares? But tomorrow, can you do 3.5 minutes? Yeah, I can do that. If you can do 3.5 minutes the day after, I'm sure you can probably do 3 minutes 45. And people think this is really nitpicky, mate, but give it 90 days, give it 6 months. You will be able to run 10K without stopping if you build it up. But what most people do, they'll go into the garage, they go, I'm fat, I'm miserable, where's my Converse? I'll go try and run 5K, when in reality, they can't run up the stairs without being out of breath. They get injured and go, oh, what's the fucking point again? So start really small, really, really small, because you'll feel better about yourself. If you set even a goal of saying, I want to run 20 minutes and you can't run upstairs with being out of breath, what's the likelihood of going back to it if you feel miserable and overwhelmed?
I like that. And I think there's also another side to that, which is comparison. I feel like a lot of the time when people are doing like runs on social media and you're seeing their 10K times, their half marathon times, their marathon times, and you sit there like, I'm never going to be able to even get anywhere near that time, so why do I even bother? And I feel like that's something that I see a lot of online at the moment. And what was interesting was, I can't remember, I think it was Joe Wicks was doing the London Marathon last year, and he was talking about how he wants to encourage people just to do the distance. He says, we're not going for time. He was doing it with his son or a family member, and he was walking, running. And he says, the time is irrelevant. What we're doing is the distance. And I thought that was really interesting.
It's amazing because you all arrive at the end point anyway.
Yeah.
And unless you're in the top 10, you're not going to win. But when people do things like marathons, we have good values and we have junk values. A good value for running a marathon is doing it for charity, is pushing yourself, is wanting to become the best version of you for you. A junk value is to complete the marathon, so just so you can get the medal, post it on Facebook and go, look how amazing I am, just to get validation from strangers. And I see it way too often. What are you really doing it for? Because to your point around comparison, there is always going to be someone bigger, faster, stronger, leaner, fitter, better looking, got more money. Always. Is this more than good enough for you, for where you're at today? And if you could remove everybody else's opinion for just one day, what would really be important to you? Would you exercise because you want to feel good, or you're exercising because you want to lose weight to validate yourself with women, for instance? So make sure that you're reviewing your value systems as well when you are doing these things, because to do a marathon, whether you complete it in 3 hours or 8 hours, is still going to cause you a lot of pain if you're not doing it for the right reasons.
You said there's something I want to touch on. You said value systems. If, how does someone work out what their values are or what the process is?
Great question. A few different ways, really. If you could write down your ideal scenario that no one else could see, and it's just for you, almost like an exercise of the best version of you, how would they walk? How would they talk? How would they hold themselves in a room? How do they want to communicate? What do they wear? How do they exercise? What's your favorite film? What's your favorite music? This is all building your identity. If you don't know who you are, you don't know what you value. What do I stand for as a man? What are my actual political views? What do I really think about equal pay? What do I really think about asylum seekers? What do I really think about whatever? Enter X subject. Because we all just pander to bullshit and we make ourselves smaller based off what we think we should say. Then you live out of alignment of who you are. Therefore, you bring in more junk values. And I see countless people buy dumb shit that they can't afford to impress people that they don't even like. I'll get the Range Rover. And then they can't do anything. They can't take the family on holiday. But they've got a nice Range Rover. Great. In the hope of what? Oh, that Dave from school sees me in it and he called me a loser once. Well, now you're 40, mate, so you might not want to go down that route of trying to impress people you used to go to school with. For example, I see this with countless men, and I coach most men over the age of 40. So this isn't just some made-up story. This is a lived experience of a lot of my clients when they first come to me. So if you can write down everything around that, you can start to form your actual identity. Because a lot of men say to me, oh, I've lost my identity, Adam. I'm like, you haven't. You just have never had the confidence to really live in it. And it starts as menial and as stupid as things like, what's your favourite film? 2, what's your belief about politics? How do you view family life? Do you actually want children, or are you just saying that you do because you think you have to? How do you think you should parent people? Right? Once you understand that side of things, then you can elicit your values. And, I see people get into relationships because they're attractive and they have good sex at the start and they might think that they're really funny. And that's it. That's a relationship built on sand. If I'm a single man now, luckily I'm not at the age of 37, I'm glad of that, but it's not the end of the world if you are, right? Far from it. I'm not 87, fucking hell. So, but if you're getting back into the dating world, start thinking about what your values are and ask people. They might not know the question or how to actually answer it, but what do you value? Where do you want to go? How many children do you think you have? Do you value family? Do you value good morals? Do you value trust? Insert whatever things that you do value. If they don't, or it's not aligned, they're not right for you. Because otherwise you're going to set up a relationship, again, built on sand. So that's why me and my partner are so aligned. What I value in a relationship is respect, is trust, is when I tell you about my bad day, don't tell me about your good day. It's things like that. So to elicit your own values, I would just put pen to paper and just see what comes out. I don't necessarily have a 10-point system for it, but I would always start with what does the best version of you look like, sound like, walk like, talk like, engage with others? What do you stand for as a man, etc. And then just keep building it.
So you mentioned they're the best version of you, which slightly indicates that they're not the best version of themselves currently. The idea is they map out that future self they want to be and then start acting in that way.
Correct. Who are you becoming? It's a question that I'll ask myself frequently. Another question I'll ask myself is this in alignment with who I'm becoming? And if the answer's no, I don't do it. So, for instance, again, 5 years alcohol free. One of my best mates said to me last year, do you want to come on my stag do? And I said, not sure yet. Can you give me the information? Yeah, there's 25 of us going to Lisbon. Okay. We're all staying in the same hotel. You'll be sharing a room with 2 other guys. We're going to be playing golf most days. I fucking hate golf. And I thought, And I asked myself, is this in alignment? No, it isn't. Going on a stag do with 24 other men who are most likely going to be shit-faced, staying in a room with them when I'm going to be wanting to go to bed at 10, half 10. They're going to be getting in at 4 in the morning, playing golf, and I don't really like playing golf. I thought, no. So I said, thank you so much for the offer, but I'm going to decline. But what I would like to do is take you out for dinner. So me and you can at least have a good experience together and we can honour our friendship that way. And he appreciated it. Because I said, the last thing you need is a sober person sat in the corner, not enjoying himself. You're not going to miss me not being there. And I'm going to not enjoy being there. So I'm just not going to do that thing. And some people even then go, yeah, but it's your best mate. You can't not go on your best mate's stag do. You can, because you just don't go. And I know that sounds really simplistic. And you don't get me wrong, mate. There's give and take in everything. My partner's family live down in Derby, 90 minutes away from where I am. We went down to see them on Sunday, and it was lovely. We had a really nice time. Would I do it every weekend if she asked me to, though? No, of course not. But it was for her birthday, and one of her family members isn't very well at the moment, so we went down to go see them. I'd happily do that. Of course I will. But I won't do it every week if you ask me to. You can still put in a boundary. You can still put in a barrier, right? So I give myself that pause because we're so quick to people please. We've been conditioned to people please from a very young age in a roundabout way. So if, again, another tidbit, if someone asks you a question, just pause. Can I come back to you on that? They might get annoyed by that and go, what do you mean? What do you need? You need to think about it. I'm just going to come back to you on that. It gives you a bit of distance to then reflect rather than just going, yeah, I can go to that niece's birthday that's 5 hours away, even though I don't really want to, and it's my mate's birthday that weekend. We go, yeah, okay. And then an argument forms later on because then your partner might say, why did you agree to it then in the first place? Well, you agreed to it because you were people-pleasing, because you didn't give yourself that distance. So asking yourself that question, okay, it's a bit wanky. I appreciate that. No one really talks like that going, is this in alignment with who I'm becoming? But I do, because that's where I'm going. That's the quality of question that I ask my clients, and it's the quality of question that I ask myself. Rather than, should I go out this weekend? No. Is this in alignment? No, it isn't. Well, I won't then.
I think most of the people in that scenario would have probably gone on that stag do and then probably not been that happy in that situation if that's not for them. And then that could have even affected your relationship with your best friend if they're seeing you in the corner and you're not very happy. And so, yeah, I admire the fact that you know your boundaries, which was something I want to talk about, because I feel like if you ask my missus, I'm very much a people pleaser, for sure.
We all are. But the same way that some people drink alcohol once a month, some people drink 12 pints a night. I think there's an element that's not necessary to be a people pleaser, but you'd become pretty selfish if you didn't have any. If you asked me, did I really, really, really want to go to Derby on Sunday? I probably would have gone, no. But do I do it because it would make my partner happy? Yes. But I wasn't so averse to it where I'm like, oh my God, do that. No thanks. So that's where it's different. But you hit the nail on the head, mate. Had I gone to the stag do and maybe been annoyed, then he might become intoxicated. Then he might go, why'd you even bother coming if you're just going to sit over there and not doing it, whatever? It causes a clash. So we often avoid uncomfortable conversations. But I refer to an uncomfortable conversation like going to the hygienist at the dentist. You don't really want to have it beforehand. You're dreading it a bit. Then during it, it's really uncomfortable. But after it, you feel amazing. So, yes, it is going to be a bit. But after a while, you've set your boundary. The only person, by the way, that likes boundaries is the person that's putting them in. No one else likes having your boundary. Only you like your boundary. But eventually, people get the message and they'll know not to ask you.
So I wanted to talk about boundaries and essentially ask you, what kind of boundaries do you have in place in your life?
Many. My coach refers to himself as a black belt in boundaries. I'm not quite at black belt level, but I'd say I'm a few rungs on the ladder now, of whatever colours they are, I don't know. But either way, I'm doing quite well. But it's if someone is, I don't know, shouting at me or becoming quite aggressive, I mean, the physical side of it, I'm not going to start punching people. But I'm 6'4" and I weigh 70. So if I needed to put in a physical boundary, i.e. an arm's width, I would do that in the case of conflict. In the case of normal day-to-day arguments, if someone says something to me in a disrespectful way, so hang on a second, we're not going to do this. If they can keep shouting all they want, but I'm going to walk away because I'm not getting into an argument with you. If it persists or someone says something that's disrespectful to me, I can simply just go, I found that really disrespectful, actually. And you can just walk off and just leave them with that. If an argument starts in the kitchen, it's not going to end in the kitchen. It's just not. You can diffuse it by changing location, and I mean literally walking into the next room or going out for a 2-minute walk. You know, when people say you can feel the tension in the air, it's a real thing. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it, but you just know. If you've walked into somewhere with an argument, you know there's tension in the air. So if you just leave, just go, listen, we're not getting anywhere here. I'm going to move on. I've got it in terms and conditions in my contracts with my clients. If they cancel on me with less than 24 hours notice, and it's not for a genuine reason, there's reasons and there's excuses. So a reason the other day was that a client of mine, one of his staff members' dad's passed away and he had to cover him. I said, shit, really sorry to hear that, mate. He goes, I completely understand if you need to take the session off me. I said, look, there's excuses and there's reasons. This is a reason. So on this occasion, I can waive it for you, mate. Hope everything is all right. The next day, someone else didn't turn up. And he messaged me at half an hour past when we were due to meet. He said, oh my God, I completely forgot. And I said, well, we've still got half an hour left of the session because you've paid for the hour. So let's just do it now. And you just go, if you want to. He goes, oh, I can't, mate. I'm going into another meeting. Can we do it tomorrow instead? And I said, you can, but you'll lose the session. What? Why? Because it says in the terms and conditions. He didn't like it, but that's my boundary. Ironically, I teach him how to put in boundaries. I said, if I'm teaching you how to be more of an effective communicator and put in boundaries with people, do you honestly think that I'm going to go past one of my boundaries? No. So boundaries I look at like cricket. They can be pushed and they can be there, and sometimes you can be rewarded for going past them. Children try to push boundaries every day. It's their job. So I see a boundary as something that is in place, but very, very occasionally could be bypassed if required. So a boundary of mine will be, I will go on my phone after 9 p.m. It's just downstairs and I go upstairs. So it's almost like you could even say it's a non-negotiable, which I'll come to in a second. But a boundary is that I won't respond to client messages after, say, 7:30 or 8 p.m. If I get a message, though, that there's a threat to life or someone is in dire need of help, I'm not going to go, no, I've got a boundary. I'll probably respond because I decide my boundary. I decide when I respond. They won't dictate to me when I respond. I will. But, so my boundary's in place, but I'll respond to them. Hey, mate, are you okay? Do you want to get on a quick phone call, for instance? But as awful as it may sound to some people, I'm not the Samaritans. And it's very rare I deal with people that are at threat to life stages, by the way. Just, I think I've had that twice out of the 500 plus people I've coached, but nevertheless, it can appear. But I can't be at everyone's beck and call all the time. So I have non-negotiables. Non-negotiable for me, i.e. there is no negotiation, is I don't do client booked calls on a Saturday or a Sunday. But the boundary is that I don't do client calls if there's a threat to life or something extreme. Even if it is on a Saturday and I'm not busy, I will respond. Non-negotiable is I don't take my phone to my bedroom. So unless you come around to my house and ring on my doorbell, you're not going to be able to get hold of me. So I think that's where the difference lies, mate, is to have a boundary, have your boundaries and whatever they are, but have non-negotiables. The way the boundary can change is through effective communication. So for instance, my partner and I have a rule. We have a boundary that there's no tech at the table when we're having dinner together. Now, she's a corporate lawyer. I run my own business. There can be a lot of stress and a lot of moving parts in that. So if I am expecting an urgent client call because I know that one's coming at some point, or she's on a completion deal, she might say to me, hey, I know that we don't have phones at the table, but on this occasion this evening, my boss might ring me. He might not, but my phone's just there, just so you know. No problem. If you don't communicate that and the phone's on the table and then it rings, I'm probably going to go, what did we say? No phone at the table. Clash, clash, clash. So as long as we're communicating constantly in adult state, very calmly, everyone knows what the crack is, you can abide by the values that we touched on earlier. So many people don't have any values, they don't communicate properly, and then they wonder why their life's shit or why the relationship's just all right. That's why. Because you've got no boundaries, you've got no non-negotiables, and you don't communicate effectively. So those are some boundaries that I have in place, mate, personally, on different aspects of my life, just to give you a bit of a flavour of it.
When you was talking about boundaries, I wrote down non-negotiables to talk about next, and you just went straight in, which is really good. It's really useful. And what I liked about your boundaries is they kind of aligned with your values. As in, one of your values was respect, and someone then turning up late to the thing without telling you, without forewarning or anything else, is not showing you that respect. So for you, would you say it all starts with values? Would you say that's the fundamental, the foundation?
Yeah, and the reason why I value respect so much is, I said this to my coach. He's just amazing. I said to him ages ago. I was like, when we were reflecting on the processing of being forced out of a company that I was in for years, and the confusion and the anger that I had around this, I said, yeah, I don't think I could ever go back to employment. He goes, oh, how come? I said, I've just got a bit of a problem with authority. He said, no, you don't. I was like, he goes, no, you don't. Do you have a problem with the police? I went, no. So, well, I don't think I have a problem with authority then. Because you have a problem with being disrespected. And I was like, shit, that's it. That's the word. And I often treat people how they want to be treated when I know them. Because people say, treat people how you want to be treated. Well, I might respond differently to somebody else. So I don't think that's great advice. You seem like a very calm, mild-mannered individual from what I've gathered from this conversation, which are great qualities to have. You put me at ease throughout the whole conversation. If I'm your manager in a business, I'm not going to go, even though I'm motivated by let's fucking go, that kind of style. I'm not going to come up to you necessarily and use that approach because that's how I want to be treated. I'm going to treat you how you want to be treated, which might be, James, I've got this proposal coming up. I'd really like your opinion on it. Can we go have a coffee and have a bit of a chat about it? Yeah, of course we can, Adam. Great. But when it's someone that you don't know, I have to meet them where they're at. And We always judge internally, regardless. You just do. We can't help it. But you don't have to judge externally based on what someone looks like, what they sound like, how tall they are, how short, skinny, fat, or whatever. You don't have to judge them. But I used to do that when I was in pain because it'd be a reflection of myself. So now I treat everyone with respect, and respect is earned. If they don't give me respect back, I tend to match their energy. If someone's disrespectful to me, I won't be disrespectful back to them, but then I can put in a boundary and let them know that I won't tolerate being spoken to in a disrespectful way, regardless of who they are. I don't put anyone on a pedestal. I don't think anyone is above me, and I don't think anyone is below me. We all wipe our ass after having a shit, I hope. Unless you might use a bidet if you're really rich. But yeah, so that's how I see people. I just see you're a human being, frankly. So there's no elite mentality here. So respect is imperative. The proudest thing about my business with my business partner, out of all the accolades and all the things that we've achieved, is that we've never argued once. We've had some pretty in-depth conversation and some challenging conversations from time to time, but it's always done with respect. It's always done at the same level of which I'm talking to you now. We've never raised our voices to each other. We've never gone personal with anything. Everything has remained adult and composed. And that's the thing. It's not always the case with my life partner. It's not always the case with my mother or with my friends, but with my business partner, that's the thing I'm most proud of, is talking to each other with respect at all times. And it's more difficult when it's your mum or it's your dad or it's your life partner because there's so much love there, and I get that. But if you can work on that and being respectful towards each other as frequently as possible, the relationship's always going to be improving and getting better.
One thing I want to focus on is that relationship with your business partner and how crucial that has been for you to have that person to bounce off and build that business with. Because I speak to quite a lot of coaches and they've been on this podcast, and one of the key things is loneliness and coming to build a business. Could you summarize on that?
We can frustrate the life out of each other, right? It's like your second partner in many ways. So we're the polar opposite, and that's why it works. So to answer it simply, I don't think I'd do it completely on my own. I tried it on my own. I did it for 6 months. I had a business before A-Game. I had my own coaching practice. And my now business partner, the other Adam, was a client of mine at the time. And we had another business partner who was also called Adam, just to add confusion to things. That's for another day. But basically, after 18 months, we realized that, we'll just say Adam number 3, was out of alignment with where we were going. And we did have more heated arguments, and we did have more frustrations and challenges. And when he left, the business skyrocketed, not because he was a bad person or anything like that. We were just clashing and arguing, and I don't think, yeah, but I think. Adam and I just don't do that. So to have that person that you can bounce ideas off, that you can have challenge you in a healthy way and help you grow as well. I've helped him grow in loads of ways, and he's helped me grow in loads of ways, not just in the business and financially, but spiritually, emotionally, physically. You know, we're always pushing each other in the gym and things like that. So there's huge benefits to working with someone that is in alignment. But I got told this by a former mentor of mine: the 2 most important choices you'll ever make in your life, in the person you choose to spend a life with and the person you choose to set a business with. And I can see why, because I've seen countless businesses over the years come and go because the business partners don't know how to communicate, and they clash, and there is no respect, and they both want to be the lead, air quote. So I think it's identifying what each other bring to the table, having true respect for the different skills that you've each got, and knowing that without the other, the business wouldn't be where it is. I'm all the front end of the business. The selling, the marketing, the copywriting, the ideas. Mayhew does all the unsexy stuff that without that couldn't function. Automation, tech, making sure everything works behind the scenes, looking after finances, making sure all the procedures and processes are up to date. So important. One without the other simply does not work. So I absolutely love working with him. And, but I would say to anyone that is thinking about getting into business, again, go back to your values. Where do you see this business going? How many hours do you want to work? Where do you want to be financially in a year? How much money do you need to take home? How quickly do we need to monetize? What's the end goal? Or what's the goal for the next 6 to 12 months? when shit hits the fan, this is how we're going to talk to each other. Whatever, but just really do your due diligence and don't just, air quote, hop into bed with any randomer to set up a business, because it could destroy you.
You mentioned that running your own business can be quite stressful, as is working for someone, to be fair. But I just wanted to know how you maintain your own mental well-being.
Yeah, non-negotiables again, but when it comes to health. So I've got them with boundaries and clients and partners, but I also have them with myself. Non-negotiables are that I, do drink the water, get outside, practice gratitude, eating a healthy meal for pretty much every meal where possible, pushing my boundaries in my mind, high rocks and challenges like that. Always wanting to get better, always wanting to improve and progress, making sure that I am aware of my emotions and not fighting them. I would fight every urge when I felt depressed or when I felt really sad or overwhelmed. Now I accept that the next 2 or 3 hours are probably not going to be my most productive. And also, I'm really mindful of the labels that I use. Maybe I'm not depressed, maybe I'm just exhausted. Maybe I just feel a bit sad today. Maybe I feel a bit abandoned today. Maybe I feel a bit frustrated today. Maybe I'm slightly worried. Maybe I'm not crippling myself with anxiety, perhaps. So I just go easy on myself. Then I also know when to turn on the fierce empathy and go, come on, mate, let's fucking sort this out now. So it's not a perfect 10-step morning millionaire routine that I follow. I don't. I just have my non-negotiables and I hit them throughout the course of the day because life happens. I hate the word routine, by the way. I think it's nonsense. Life is not routine. Because again, you always have to ask yourself, what if it doesn't happen? How am I going to feel? And most people feel like shit about themselves. So rather than saying, I have to get up at 6 and I have to do an ice bath and I have to meditate and gratitude and journal and walk in this exact order, and you've got kids and you've got pets and you've got a partner and you've got a business, there's about 25 things that could go wrong just overnight. So give yourself that grace period and just go, what do I stand for? What do I want to achieve by the end of today? I want to do 1, 2, 3 things. Fantastic. And then just build it. That's it. Rinse and repeat. It's boring, but it works.
I like how simple it is as well, and not putting yourself under so much pressure to fit in 10 things in your morning routine.
Yeah, fuck that, mate. I've tried that, and all it did was create more guilt because we judge ourselves so harshly. When we judge ourselves, that goes to guilt. Guilt is I did something bad. Guilt, after a while, turns to shame, and shame is I am bad. I am that thing. So as opposed to saying, let's say I want to go to the gym tomorrow, then your kids are ill through the night and you get 2 hours sleep. Your new reality is 2 hours sleep. It's not well rested, let's fucking go gym bro program for today. My reality is 2 hours sleep, sick child. So you could go, I didn't go to the gym today, I'm a lazy idiot. Or you go, no, what can I do today? My kid was ill last night. I'm going to get more rest and I'm going to go for a long walk. I'm going to make sure that I'm drinking the water and I'm eating healthy again because that's what I'm in control of today. That's my reality. That's it. Because the alternative is judgment, is guilt, is shame. And you get stuck in this shame cycle and you go, not I was lazy yesterday, it's I am lazy. Some of the things people say to themselves, mate, and I've been there, trust me, you lazy twat. What the fuck is wrong with you? Words to that effect. It's so disempowering as language and it's so unhelpful. So the one gem, as it were, that a lot of people ask me when I go on podcasts, out of all the podcasts I've been on, that I've watched or listened to, all the books that I've read, everything, the biggest gem, as it were, is what's a more helpful thought? Life-changing, genuinely, because it's not false positivity rah-rah. It's just more helpful. Oh, shit, kids were up late last night and, oh, they're really sick and da-da-da. Oh, I can't go to the gym today. That's so annoying. What's a more helpful thought? I'll go out for a walk. Oh, my boss is a complete dick. I fucking hate my job. Arsehole. Da-da-da-da-da. What's a more helpful thought? It's putting a roof over my head. It means I can pay the bills. So that's all good. Right?
So to kind of summarize, to get yourself out of that shame cycle, it's having that awareness and then having that thought of, what is a more helpful thought, and then kind of changing your perspective.
That's it. Because I remember we do men's retreats, and when we did the first one, we had 10 people signed up. So all 10 slots were filled. We felt great about it. And a month before, because it was the first one, it was with existing clients, we didn't necessarily put in loads of terms and conditions and what have you. We just trusted that they'd turn up. So then it got to the, I don't know, say 3 weeks out, and someone dropped out. And I was like, oh, it's a bit annoying. There was a set of brothers that were coming. Then they dropped out. Then the day before, someone else dropped out. So now we're down to 6. And I was like, motherfuckers. I rang my coach. I was like, I can't believe it. He goes, what's wrong? I was like, 4 people have dropped out of our retreat. He goes, okay. I was like, we've only got 6 people now. He goes, right. So that's so shit, isn't it? He goes, well, what's a more helpful thought? So at the time, I'd not heard this question before. What do you mean, what's a more helpful thought? I was like, I'm pissed off. He goes, I know you are. But what's a more helpful thought? I was like, we've got 6 people on our first retreat. He goes, there you go. What's another helpful thought? They'll probably get more time with us. Yeah. What's another more helpful thought? The testimonials will probably be better. What's another more helpful thought? There's going to be more food because we've already paid for it. So I just kept bringing in more helpful thoughts. And I say this and I mean it. That was genuinely life-changing. The reason why that was life-changing was because it's applicable to literally anything. You can use it in any walk of life at any moment. And I've worked with cancer patients. I've worked with rape victims. I've worked with people who have lost both parents in a car accident. And this model works with them. I ask it when the time's right. But what it does is it breaks you free from the self-imposed victimhood. And you go into a creation stage in the brain. And you start to be a bit more hopeful. How can I change this around? How can I rebuild? How can I make my life more fulfilling and happy? What's a more helpful thought?
I like that. And those examples you give, I can imagine that it's not quite easy for them. Sometimes it will be a challenge for you to find that more helpful thought, but it is there.
That's exactly it, mate. And it's just, again, it's, don't get me wrong. Someone says, oh, my mum just died and I'm really upset. What's a more helpful thought? It's not like that, right? It's introducing it at the right moment. If you say, oh, I'm worthless and I'm an idiot and I'm this and I'm that and I'm always going to be miserable, I think that's quite strong language. What would you say a more helpful reframe might be? What would you say a more helpful thought is? I don't know, maybe. And then when they say maybe, I know that they're above the line, as it were, straight away, as opposed to misery, despair, hopelessness. It's the most unhelpful state we can be in, but it doesn't mean we're not entitled to be there occasionally. But staying there and living in it, day after day, week after week, month after month, no. We have to break free from it eventually, otherwise we'll never change.
How simple that is for people to use on themselves and be like a key takeaway from this podcast.
Thanks, man.
So I'd like to round out the podcast with our signature question, which is, what does mental resilience mean to you?
This has changed. I didn't want to prepare the answer. I knew the question was coming, but I wanted to answer it on the fly. But this has changed over my life because it used to be about, I used to say that mental resilience or mental endurance is the ability to withstand pain and keep going. And I do think there's an element of that. But mental resilience has to come from awareness. If you aren't aware of your current reality, or you aren't aware of where it is that you're going, you'll never be able to build resilience. So if you are going after that marathon, or you are on that weight loss journey, or you do want to stop drinking alcohol, you have to be aware that the problem exists. Then you have to be aware of how you can make a change, because then everything else is figure outable. And then it is a case of just not fucking giving up and keeping going. But if you don't know what it is you're trying to achieve or why you're trying to achieve it, you'll never be able to have discipline. You'll never be able to have resilience. You'll be purely relying off motivation every single Monday. Here I go again. Here I go again. No, don't do that. That's going to be a hamster wheel of misery and despair. You'd be better off not saying it and carrying on being miserable, which some people go, why would anyone want to do that? Well, why would anybody want to false promise themselves every weekend? So, yeah, I would say that resilience can only be present when awareness is there.
I like that. And with those other goals that you just mentioned, it's almost going back to what we were saying in terms of those micro goals, once you've got that awareness as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you very much for being on the guest. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me, James.
Cheers.